The villain kids in Descendants 2 are super edgy and tough, but sometimes they can be downright goofy. We tracked down some of the funniest bloopers, behind-the-scenes moments, and wacky interviews from the cast of Descendants 2 just for you guys. You're not going to want to miss the last one. We are still laughing about it. If you're into Descendants 2 like we are, subscribe to the Things channel to be the first to see our new videos. And click the like button if you love Descendants 2 as much as we do. Clumsy Cast. With all the dance choreography in the films, you would think that the cast of Descendants 2 would be super graceful and balanced, right? Think again. We found a couple of pretty clumsy moments in the blooper reel that had the crew cracking up. The first one we found was when Mal was making her grand entrance onto Uma's turf. She's supposed to look tough and in control, but instead she slips and almost eats it right next to the pirate swords. Dutve Cameron realizes that she ruined the take and says, "All right, we're going back." She turns around and walks right back out. We've all been there, Dutve. Then there was the time when Evie was in the villain kid's hideout on the aisle. She runs up to the end of their homemade megaphone and is supposed to call Mal's name, but when Sofia Carson hit her mark, she hit something else too. She accidentally bonked her face on the edge of the megaphone. She kept going, not missing a beat, but the crew started cracking up. Sofia laughed it off too. Even Uma had a clumsy moment. In an interview, China and McLean said she tripped when she was dancing on the table for her big number, "What's My Name?" Whoops. Catch. Magic mirror on the wall. Who's the blooperest one of all? Evie is sophisticated, smart, and fashionable. With all that going for her, it's not surprising that she might have a small shortcoming once in a while. For instance, her catching skills seem to be a bit off. There's a great blooper we found when Evie is on Uma's pirate ship. The villain kids are about to have the epic battle with Uma and her crew. The situation is tense, and Evie, Dutve, Jay, and Carlos need to look tough and intimidating. They have to defeat Uma's pirate crew if they are going to have a shot at rescuing Ben and getting back to Auradon. But there's a part where Evie is supposed to catch a sword and, well, she misses. She must have missed the catch more than once because we watched the final fight scene and there is no part where Evie catches a sword. Our guess is that they changed it to accommodate Sofia's lack of catching ability. Don't worry, Sofia. You can always fall back on your singing, dancing, acting, fashion designing, and sword fighting talents. No one can do it all, even if you are the daughter of the evil queen. Mal's wig's name. Let's face it, Dutve Cameron and that purple wig have been through a lot together. From the opening number, Wicked, when she dances with poisoned apples and possess the students and parents of Auradon Prep, to when she gets reunited with her polished purple locks at Dizzy's salon, Curl Up and Die. And there was never a purple hair out of place when Mal's arm wrestled Uma and then had a sword fight on Uma's pirate ship. Her purple side braid was gorgeous at the beginning of the cotillion, and even better when it formed into purple waves after her epic dragon battle against Uma's octopus. It's only natural that Dutve would name her wig, which she did in this behind-the-scenes video. In the video, she is in the makeup trailer saying goodbye to the wig, with which she had been through so much. One of the makeup artists recommended calling the wig Mr. Mauve. Dutve laughs and says goodbye to Mr. Mauve. At least she won't have to part with it for too long. She put it on for the Descendants 3 teaser, so there's a good chance that Dutve and Mr. Mauve will be reunited for the filming of the third film. Pranks. We found out that the director of the Descendants movies, Kenny Ortega, is quite a prankster. In an interview with Parade.com, Kenny talked about some pranks he has pulled on the casts from both the first and second Descendants films. He said a couple of times the kids worked really hard for weeks on a number, and then he would come in and he would look at it. He said he would have a real straight face and just say, "You know what, it's just not good enough." Then he would tell them that they should probably just start all over again from scratch. He said it really pulled the rug out from under the cast for a moment. Then he would laugh it off and say, "Gotcha." And that's not the only time he pulled a prank. In the first Descendants film, he had the cast run up on Dutve Cameron during her big emotional number in the woods and surprise her. She said she was singing the song If Only when she heard footsteps and thought zombies were coming to attack her. But then she turned around and discovered it was Sofia, Cameron, Booboo, and Mitch. To say she was relieved would be an understatement. Good one, Kenny. Dropping the apple. The opening number in Descendants 2 is totally amazeballs. Dutve Cameron said that her favorite part about the number is dancing with all these zombified Auradon Prep kids as they dance and sing about the ways to be wicked. That number was pretty complex, according to Kenny Ortega. It took place over 2 or 3 weeks of their shooting schedule. That's a lot of work for a 3.5-minute song. Kenny said they shot the number in pieces. Auradon was not all in one location. They had the exterior of the castle, the interior of the castle, the hallways, locker areas, and then the garden garden area and the front of the school. He said they would do it in chunks and rehearse before shooting each piece. But even with all that rehearsal, bloopers still happened. Cameron Boyce was supposed to juggle apples in front of Belle and King Beast before giving them the apples and dancing away. But juggling and singing and dancing isn't as easy as it may look. There's a blooper of him dropping the apples during one of the takes. If you watch the final edit, you'll see that Cameron has to sing while juggling and then toss the apples to the king and queen. Yep, that looks hard. The Incredible Hulk and the Carlos clones. When you watch Descendants 2, it almost seems like the cast has superpowers. They are so good, especially Booboo Stewart. He is hailed by the cast as the best sword fighter. He does tons of flips and acrobatics in the movie. The guy is just awesome, but he let the fans in on a little secret during the interview. Apparently, all of his clothes keep ripping. He said in the first week, 2 jackets ripped. Then he said his gloves ripped and his fingers were coming out of them. Then he said he was bursting out of his shoes and his socks on both feet. He was dancing and flipping so hard, he Incredible Hulk right out of his costume. In the same interview, Cameron Boyce shared that since he was a minor during the shooting of the film, he had to have about 4 or 5 doubles. He said he had a stunt double, a dance double, and he had 2 picture doubles. Sofia Carson said that more than once they would go up to Cameron from behind to say hey and then realize it wasn't him. They had a bunch of Carlos clones walking around the set wearing the same wig. Trippy. Dove Cameron can't drive a Vespa. You know how in the movie Ben gives Mal a purple Vespa as a present and she totally is over the moon excited about it? Then she uses that purple Vespa to escape the pressures of royalty and bolts back to the aisle where she feels she belongs. It totally looks like she's driving that Vespa, right? Well, Dove Cameron revealed that anytime the audience sees her on that Vespa, it's a lie. They used a double to do the scenes where Mal is driving the Vespa. Dove said that anytime you see her on the Vespa, she was barely able to keep it upright. She said her feet didn't touch the ground. She remembers being perched on it awkwardly to do the scenes. Cameron Boyce said one of his favorite moments of filming was seeing Dove on the Vespa in front of a green screen with these dudes crouched out of frame, spinning the wheels and rocking the scooter back and forth with one hand on the basket at the back. So let's go down Dove Cameron's list of credentials. Singing, check. Dancing, check. Acting, check. Driving a Vespa, fail. I guess you don't have to have it all. We still love you, Dove. Evil antenna. We all know that Maleficent is rotten to the core and totally wicked, but did you also know that she can be used as an antenna? Neither did we until we found out this funny outtake. Okay, we're just gonna preface this by saying we know that Mal's mom is a lizard in Descendants 2, but we missed her so much we thought we would include her in our favorite outtakes, even if this one is from the first Descendants movie. Remember that scene when Fairy Godmother facilitates a video call for the villain kids from their parents who were still trapped on the aisle? Well, they captured comedy gold footage of the villains trying to figure out how to use the video calling system. In this scene, that mostly wound up on the cutting room floor. The evil queen puts aluminum foil on Maleficent's horns and tries to use them as an antenna. Then Jafar tries raising her hands up to get a good signal. You see, kids, this is what folks had to do in the old school analog TV watching days. Well, minus the horns. Anyway, it's really hilarious. If you have the DVD, check out the bonus features to sneak a peek at it. Deleted song and scenes. Along with the bloopers and funny outtakes, there are some deleted scenes worth talking about. First, there's the deleted song that didn't make the final cut of Descendants 2. It was supposed to come after Mal and Jay have a heartfelt talk in the grassy garden outside of Ardon Prep. Jay reassures Mal and tells her to come to the cotillion that night. After Jay leaves, Mal sang the song from the first film. You know, the one called If Only? For some reason, the filmmakers cut this song. Bummer! Speaking of cut scenes, did you know that the other 2 characters were filmed saying the final phrase of the movie? Yep, little Dizzy Tremaine also said the famous line, "You didn't think this was the end of the story, did you?" Then she giggles and jumps up and down with her invitation to Ardon Prep in her hands. They also filmed Harry Hook saying the last line. In this deleted scene, he saunters up to the camera and says the line. Then he caresses his cheek with the hook and chuckles before he glides out of the frame. We loved them both, but it's clear why they chose Uma to deliver the final line. Big inside secret. The cast has become incredibly close during the filming of Descendants and Descendants 2. They laughed a lot. They cried. They've pranked each other. They've ripped out of their own clothing. But Sofia Carson and the cast shared a special insider secret that we can't stop smiling about. She revealed that Kenny taught the cast a chant before they would film each musical number. She said all the dancers and all the cast would huddle up into a big circle and do this chant that has a lot of boom shakalakas in it. China and McClain said it helped the whole cast get hyped before a scene. We're going to go out on a limb and say it totally worked. The numbers are high energy, the dance routines are masterful and fun, and all the villain kids add their own flair of sass and passion to each musical number that they do. So what's your favorite musical number? How about your favorite blooper or behind the scenes moment? Leave your answer in the comments. We know one thing, we can't wait for Descendants 3 to come out. Don't you guys agree? And that's it for the 10 funniest bloopers you never saw from Descendants 2. We hope you had as much fun as we did. See you next time on The Things.